Hello and welcome to the fourth edition of Invest Gauteng. I'm your host, Chris Bishop. Now, this is a series that looks at the different investment avenues that the Gauteng province has to offer. And in today's episode, we'll look at the tourism sector. Now, September is supposed to be Tourism Month, and coupled with President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement that inter-provincial travel is allowed, Gauteng province is set to focus on efforts to revitalize this much needed and very lucrative sector. Now let's take a look at the importance of this sector and how much of an impact it has had on the province's overall GDP.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic struck, Gauteng had a vibrant tourism sector characterized by a cosmopolitan mix of people from all walks of life working towards a common goal: growing Gauteng's visitor economy. Now, as we start to emerge from the restrictions of international and local lockdowns, a key priority for the province is to remain resilient and competitive. According to the South African Tourism Annual Report 2019, Gauteng was the most visited province with a 36.2% share of total international arrivals. Promoting Gauteng's tourism sector by focusing on themes such as destination coordination and enhanced visitor experience, amongst many, helped to attract both international and domestic travelers. With Gauteng's many leisure activities to choose from and stretching across all corridors, the province's offerings will continue to have a direct impact on the value chain, as explained pre-COVID-19 by Charles Pretorius, founder of Gwalada Lodge, situated within the Dinokeng Game Reserve.
One of the questions would be is how many staff have we got? And it's easy to answer. We can say, well, there's 60 permanent and there's about 20 casuals that come in. There's contractors that work here. But one very important aspect is that we meet the CEO of a company and we can divert him to say, come and spend your CSI investment in our community. The better our community do, the better it's for us all. And I think that is a big advantage of tourism. Also, if we look at the Dinokeng Game Reserve, the vision of the Gauteng government was to have a Big Five game reserve close to Tshwane, close to Joburg, and only 1 hour's drive from OR Tambo. And what was the 350 million rand investment? Why? The reason was to create socio-economic upliftment of this rural area in Gauteng. Our main audience or visitors is a local, mainly your Gauteng market. We do get more and more visitors from other provinces. But we have seen also an influx, looking at the time that we've been in operation, of visitors, overseas visitors, that's specifically looking at that first night in Africa or the last night in Africa. And then also, I think very important, it's about your destination. Is your destination established? Also your corporate tourists coming from abroad, coming from meetings in Tshwane. This is a great breakaway. Also just for a quick day outing, you can literally spend a night in a 5-star hotel in the city of Tshwane, have breakfast, and by 9 o'clock be out in the bush, be on a game drive, end off with a nice lunch, and then from there depart back to the hotel.
In addition to the tourism sector, the Gauteng province had also relied on business travelers attending business seminars, indabas, conferences, and investment forums. In 2008, a total of 12,937 meetings of associations were held around the world, and South Africa hosted 100 international Congress and Convention Association registered events. The Gauteng Convention and Events Bureau formulated and prepared 22 business event proposals during the 2017-2018 period and secured 14 events. 4 of them were to be hosted for 3 consecutive years. Events like these were set to attract more than 86,000 delegates and create an estimated economic impact of 2 billion rand for the local economy.
Due to our conference business, we are picking up as opposed to be dropping. But also we are very mindful of the fact that we're not just a travelers market. We're not dependent solely on the people that are looking for leisure only, because then otherwise wouldn't be able to survive. I think if I were to involve the learners, which is also a big part of what the Bechu does, which is really what the government is encouraging any business in the tourism sector to do, is we're hosting over 350 learners in the hotel, and we've got a staff complement of about a similar number. So in total, I'm having about 700 people running around this property, serving on average 2,000 to 3,000 people a day. It is a proper and a big operation to run financially and otherwise. Therefore, the element that I've mentioned of having the learners into the institution, or still making sure that we keep our clients happy all the time. On average, you'll have over 3,000 people, because we've got centers on the other side at Pomolong, which is more of a African layout, and with a pool and with a dam and water features and everything. So on average, we will have over 15, 20 different conferences in the center.
Conferences like these will continue to contribute to Gauteng's tourism value chain, from job creation to local tourist attractions. All key players working together to increase investments and attractions to South Africa's richest province.
Well, joining me on the line to help unpack the future of tourism in Gauteng post-COVID-19 is Barba Gaoganediwe, the head destination marketing at Gauteng Tourism Authority. Welcome. But before we get into this conversation, we spoke to Gauteng MEC for Economic Development, Morokane Masupye, earlier this week to get a sense of what the department is doing to revitalize tourism.
Together with the Minister of Tourism, we were in Bronkhorstspruit itself, in the Cullinan area. We were launching the September Tourism Month. Why we chose that area in particular, it's because of its uniqueness in the space, the tourism space. It's a small dorpy. We are looking at all the small dorpies, small towns, township tourism areas, because under level 2, alert level 2, we still cannot travel outside the country, but the inter-provincial traveling has been allowed. On the 27th, on the tourism day, we will be at Marupeng in Gauteng, still together with the minister, just to launch the National Day of Tourism. The idea there is to also bring to the attention of South Africans all of the good and interesting areas that we have within our borders.
Okay, well, joining me now to discuss all this is Barba Gaoganediwe, the head of destination marketing at Gauteng Tourism Authority. Funny, Barba, we were just talking only last year at one of these big tourism conferences about how the future looked a little bit brighter, and then dropped COVID-19. I mean, how much damage has it done?
Yes, how time flies. We are now faced with devastating job losses, shrinking revenues from not just the tourism sector, but the entire economy. And that's what disasters do. But we pride ourselves with having a very resilient sector that has survived world wars and other disasters like 9/11. And we draw courage from how these sectors in this specific country bounce back. And we are looking forward to a post-COVID visitor economy that is well sanitized and leveraging from all the advances that have been made in strengthening the health and hygiene protocols in our sector.
Spring's here. This time of year, I'm thinking I'd like a few days away. I'm still a bit worried about COVID-19, obviously. But one thing that might make me be a bit more keen is if the prices were reduced for some of the tourism places on offer. How likely is it that we're going to see a sort of discounting to bring business back?
I don't think we're going to see necessarily prices being reduced, but I think we're going to see much more value being enhanced. We're going to see much more inclusive packages for nuclear families. Things, Chris, like 2 persons sharing and all the jargon we use in the sector must now start to be accommodative. We must be able to offer value for families, for nuclear families, because These are families that have been stuck together during COVID, hard lockdown. They know each other's status and conditions of health. So our supply side, our infrastructure must be able to respond to that. The demand is more on groups going together, but also the issue is about how do I avoid cluttered space like city living and go and do safari, go and do adventure. Hiking GP is one of our popular experiences right now, with people being able to go to our natural sites, our heritage sites, our nature reserves, to go out because you can practice social and physical distancing right there. So for me, the issue is, how do we incentivize the traveler, the visitor? How do we offer more value? How do we package food experiences into your accommodation prices that you are paying, so that you are able to get off this cabin fever that all of us are experiencing?
Okay, and just give us a recap as well, exactly what is at stake in Gauteng alone. A lot of people, because they don't get to see like big chimneys on the skyline, tend to forget how much tourism brings into a province like Gauteng. Yeah, how big is it, and how many jobs and GDP is at stake here?
We're talking about a massive contributor to the economy of Gauteng. Not just the economy of Gauteng, close to 40% of international arrivals in the country are in Gauteng. So we are the highest number, we are the highest province in terms of receiving international arrivals. We are almost third in terms of our domestic tourism numbers. Just over 4% of the contribution to the GDP, close to 300,000 people formally employed in the tourism sector. We're talking about close to 1.5 million if you broaden it up as the visitor economy, including the services sector, aviation, and the like. So aviation sector alone have been put to a halt, with 200 billion being lost in that sector. So if you bring in all this component that makes the visitor economy, you are talking about a $1 trillion sector in Gauteng that inspires the entire country, but also drive optimism and hope for the rest of the continent. So the success of Gauteng, the boom of the sector in Gauteng, will propel the country to do well and ultimately create an Africa that everybody can be proud of.
Well, thank you very much indeed for your time and insights. That's Barba Gaoganediwe, the head of destination marketing at Gauteng Tourism Authority. And I'm afraid that's all we've got time for on this edition of the show. From me, Chris Bishop, it's goodbye.